What if your late loved ones never truly left you? What if they're still guiding you through dreams, whispers, and even melds that you can't explain? Today, we explore the invisible threads connecting us to spirit through Pleiadian channel Will Caminada, who began his journey when his father spoke to him from the other side when he was just 8 years old.
And I started to feel my dad's presence and hearing his voice because it felt familiar.
Now, Will channels the 9D Pleiadian collective, beings of pure love who call themselves the Guardians of Love. But here's what's wild. He didn't even know they were Pleiadians at first. They disguised themselves as the Guardians of 5D until he was ready for the truth. In this mind-expanding conversation, we explore how to recognize spirit communication. Hint, it's not just voices goosebumps come to.
We are the 9D Collective Pleiadians. We're so very happy to be here, to be connecting with you and your audience and your beautiful self through our dearest Will.
Why awakened souls struggle with money and relationships, and how to break free.
Some predictions are very likely to happen, some aren't likely to happen because timelines aren't fixed and timelines shift. You can accelerate these timelines, you can anticipate them, or you can maybe these timelines will happen but in a far future.
The life channeled Pleiadian message for humanity. Stop fearing, start feeling. This isn't just a podcast, it's a portal. Press play if you're really ready to remember who you truly are. Welcome to the Celestevolve podcast. I'm your host, Tanya. Today, I'm incredibly excited to have Will Caminada onto the Celestevolve podcast. Welcome, Will. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing very good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Will, can you tell us when was the first time you heard the Pleiadians speak to you?
It's interesting because I want to say around 2020 was already channeling a group of beings. I was connected with my spirit guides, and I felt like they were a collective consciousness. And it was a time where I was doing a lot of breath work, a lot of meditation. I still do it. I'm a breathwork facilitator, and I often do solo practices. But I remember it was a time that I was doing a lot because, as you know, in 2020, we had time to do these things because we were all in lockdown. And I remember that I was communicating with my guides, and they gave me a name that was the Guardians of Love. And I really loved that name. And I was like, thank you. They gave me a name because they know we like these things, right? That's the way that we work here in 3D. And so I started channeling the Guardians of Love. And if you go back to the very beginning when I started posting some channeled messages on my YouTube channel and my podcast, it says channeled message by the Guardians of Love. And it was a time where I was channeling, I would do breath work, I would meditate, and I would connect with them telepathically. And then after the session, I would write down the message. And then I would also like record, put some music, meditative music. So it was a whole process. And then at one point, and I think it was after I became a little bit more familiar with the name Pleiadians, I was reading this book called The Alchemy of Nine Dimensions of Consciousness by Barbara Hand Clow. After I saw an interview with her in Open Minds on Gaia by Regina Meredith. And I remember watching that interview and just thinking, I need to read this book. Like I got something activated within me, something awakened when I watched that interview. And then I remember downloading the book straight away. And my guide said, we know you want to devour this book, but just take your time. Just take your time, read one chapter, then integrate the information because basically each chapter is about the one dimension of consciousness. And so I was like, okay. And as I was reading this book, so many synchronicities started to happen, and I felt like I was developing a connection with the Pleiadians because this is a channeled material. So Barbara channeled the Pleiadians. And after that, after I became more familiar with them in one of those solo sessions, I heard my guide saying, by the way, we are the Pleiadians and we are the Guardians of Love. And I'm like, thank you, thank you. So I was already in touch with them, but they gave me a different name, and it made total sense because for me, the Pleiadians are those guardians of love. They are the guardians of 5D, and 5D is all about that unit of consciousness and that love. So they are making sure that we remember that.
And when did you hear your guides for the first time?
I started connecting with my dad who passed away when I was 8.
Oh.
And first we had some kind of communication through dreams. It wasn't kind of, it was a communication through dreams. So he would show up in my dreams and we would communicate. At first, of course, I was really scared because I was a kid and he shows up in my dream and it felt so real. Like it really felt like he was right there in front of me. And so I woke up and I'm like, how is this possible? Because I know he is not here in this physical realm. How is this possible that I feel him so close? So it was kind of a progression through dreams. And the next dream, I wasn't that scared. The next dream, we would hug. The next dream, he would send me a message. The next dream, we would actually talk. So it was kind of, yeah, a progression of dreams that happened, and it wasn't in one year. It was like throughout my teenage life, throughout my teens. And then when I started meditating daily, which was maybe 12 years ago, when I was around 30, I was like very committed. I'm a Capricorn, I'm disciplined. So I was like, I'm going to meditate every day. And things really, really shifted because I started to feel more, just feel my emotions more. I started to do a lot of healing and I started to feel my dad's presence and hearing his voice because it felt familiar. So I often say that we tend to connect with our loved ones first because they feel familiar, like we've had a lifetime with them. So we know the sound of their voice or the tone of their voice or even just how they made you feel. Sometimes even the smell, sometimes you smell something that is not actually in the environment, but it's a way that they are communicating with you. So I would say that this connection with my guides has started with my dad. I can't remember like one day where I was meditating and I felt his presence really strongly. But there were two occasions. One, I was doing a workshop, and at some point we had to write a letter from a loved one to ourselves as if they were speaking to us. And then I just really felt the presence of my dad, and I started writing and just kept writing, kept writing. And then when I read the letter, it was like, yes, like my dad wrote this for me, and I just had tears, everybody in the room. So it was potentially one of the first times that I channeled too. And then the second occasion was when I was in Thailand and I was doing this beautiful yoga training, doing lots of healing, being close to nature. And it was the first time I did breath work. They called it rebirthing, which is one type of breath work. And it was very, very, very powerful. One of the most healing experiences that I've ever had because I got in touch with that inner child. I
Mm.
let that cry out, and it was so freeing as well, not just spiritually, but physically as well, and emotionally. And I think that was the first time that I connected with my dad. Like I heard him and I also felt in my body. But it was the first time that I was 100% sure that it was him. Because before, during the meditations, I would feel it and I would feel nice. But there was always that little voice that was like, was it really?
Yeah, I know.
Or maybe you're just missing him or things like that. But that one time in the breath work, it was like I had absolutely no doubt that he was there and he was guiding me through all the process of the breath work and that healing practice. So I would say that in general, he was my catalyst for this spiritual awakening too, because even though when he passed away, I was very young, I started questioning a lot of things about life and, where did he go? Can I talk to him? What happens after life? There's like big questions for an 8-year-old. But I think that was the beginning of my awakening, even though I didn't really have the terminology and didn't have anybody also to support me and say, yes, this is what happens when you die, or, we have a spirit, things like that. I didn't have anybody because my mom, my family, they're Catholic, and then, the only thing that they told us is that he's in heaven, right? But I would
Yeah.
look up and I would only see clouds, and I'm like, no, there must be something else, right? So yes, that's in a snapshot of that of that.
How do you hear them? Do you hear, is it like a voice? Do you feel different energetically? Can you describe what that is like to hear them or your dad?
Yeah, yeah. And I also want to say that in that process of connecting with my guides, I actually felt a little bit distant from my dad. I couldn't hear him anymore because it almost felt like he was part of the team and I was hearing a group of beings and it was a collective. And so today I can sort of recognize the voices and the frequencies mostly. And most of the time, I use my clairaudience, so I hear telepathically and I communicate. I ask the questions telepathically as well. I also see images as well, so that's more clairvoyant. But we're using all of the clairs in a way because there are two that we often disregard, which is clairsentience and claircognizance, which is feeling and just knowing. So sometimes we are waiting for the vision or we are waiting for the voice, but actually you might be feeling really strongly their presence, or you might be feeling something in your body, even goosebumps. This is a way that they communicate with us as well. Where claircognizance is just knowing. It's like, how do you know? But I just know. And feeling and knowing is they're very connected. And this is one of the things I teach today as well, because a lot of people they're just like obsessed with seeing, like they want to see. And sometimes they're like,
Yeah.
I go into meditation and I don't see much. And like there are so many other things that you can tap into as well. But for me personally, it's the feeling, it's the knowing, but it's the hearing. I'm very connected with sounds and frequencies in music because I'm a singer as well and I write songs, and my whole life I've been very connected to music. So this is a way that I feel connected as well with sound, so I can hear in my mind telepathically usually, and I'm pointing here because usually it's from this side that I hear them. And over time, I just kind of learned how to recognize the frequencies because it's not necessarily a different tone of voice. It's more about the frequency and how it feels. So
Yeah.
I know when it's hard to describe, but when I connect with the Pleiadians, it just feels very joyful. It feels very loving. It feels very happy. They're very chatty and they have a sense of humor. So I know that it's them. But there have been other times where I felt other beings that didn't feel quite like that. And so that's when you learn how to recognize the different frequencies, really.
When I started speaking to channelers, I was also getting frustrated because they talk about how they see these different beings and they see visions, they see that. And I'm like, it was frustrating because I don't know if what they're telling is right, if it's true or not. And I'm like, it's going way beyond what my idea of reality was. So it was challenging for me too. And then over time, I started to sit in meditation and I started to do these things. And I realized that when I'm actively thinking about a solution to something that's happening in my life, I won't be able to come up with the answer. It's like I keep beating myself up. But when I sit in a meditation and then when I ask the question, the answers just make perfect sense. It's not this elaborative answer like how, like a channeler says. It's like when a channeler talks, it's like they give this nice long dictation of everything that is perfect grammar. Everything is just perfect, like flows through. When I ask, it's not like a long paragraph. It would be probably one sentence or maybe like a word. But that just makes perfect sense. And then everything else I was thinking prior to my meditation just feels like stupidity. Hi there. My mission with this podcast is to create a space filled with love, peace, and hope, especially for those of you who are tired of viral and extreme content that floods our feed. To make this vision a reality, I'm bringing together a team of professionals who is going to help spread this message of hope far and wide. But I can't do this alone. I need your help. And here are 4 ways you could help with this movement. Number 1, turn on those bell notifications. Be the first to comment and engage because that initial engagement and likes help the YouTube
algorithm share a message with more viewers. Number 2, send this message to your family and friends who you think would resonate with our uplifting messages. Number 3, consider making a donation. Number 4, subscribe to the channel. As a working single mother who is on a mission to spread this movement, I truly appreciate your support. Together, let's be the catalyst to bring heaven on earth. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Now let's get back into the podcast.
Yeah, I love that you're sharing this because this is one of the things that I share in my course Introduction to Channeling to sort of demystify this myths because one word that you receive can be so powerful. And it's exactly what you need. I remember years ago when I was very committed to my daily meditation practice. I still practice, but it wasn't as strict as that time. And I was also free writing because I was doing a songwriting degree, so I had to write songs, and so that was a practice for me, just to like free write and start writing, and then inspiration would come for a song or something like that. But I remember connecting with spirit, connecting with my dad, and there was one time that the only thing that I wrote was the word believe, and it was believe, believe, believe 3 times, and it was signed by Archangel Michael. And I'm like, thank you, Archangel Michael. I think it was one of the first times that I connected with this being, with Michael. And I was happy that I connected with him, but at the same time, I was like, is this all you're giving me today? Just believe, it's the ego talk.
Yeah.
Thank you, but like I was expecting a little more. But then as I sat with it, and even throughout the day and the next days, it just made sense. Like it's
Yeah.
exactly what I needed. And there were so many little messages and sub messages within one simple word. I needed to believe that, yes, I was connecting with spirit. I needed to believe that I had the ability to connect with Archangel Michael or my dad or any other being. I needed to believe in my dreams. I needed to believe that I could manifest. So there were lots of messages. It was exactly what I needed. And so the ego is the one that oftentimes asks for more. And I feel like the most powerful messages from spirit are usually very often the simpler ones, the simple ones.
100% agreed. And in fact, even I try to do a lot of the courses, and in the courses, it's not like it's how to channel. It's more like how to believe, it's more like how to trust what you're receiving. And that's what most of the messages are. Your messages that you post on the Pleiadian channel, something happens every time I read it. Every time I read it, I feel better. I can't explain it. It's like I have brought astrologers, tarot card readers, these different guests on the podcast. But then when I speak with a channeler, I feel like I've got enough energy for the rest of the month. Something shifts in me. Do you know what that is?
Thank you, first of all. And I feel very similar to when I channel, it's a mixture of feeling high and tired at the same time, depending on how long I do it. And I feel like it's just the quality of light. And so everything is light, right? And light is moving through time and space, and we're receiving those light codes in one way or another. If you're more receptive to receiving these light codes, if your heart is open, your force field is a match to that frequency that these light codes have, then you're gonna feel that. And so it's almost as if you're also downloading those light codes and receiving it and feeling it. So you're receiving through your heart. So the more open your heart is to this kind of messages and to receiving light codes, and as you know, Earth has been receiving so much light over the last few years with this ascension process, so many solar flares and solar flashes, and basically all of what this means is Earth is receiving more and more light codes and more light with updated and upgraded information, and then that has an effect on us as well, because I see ourselves as the cells of this sentient being that is Mother Earth. So we are receiving it, and it might seem like that's something that Pleiadians say. It might seem like we're receiving it from the sun, and yes, we are, but also it's a cellular process too. It's not just we're receiving from an external source, because we are connected to the sun as well. We're connected to everything. So if you believe that you are a being of light and that is your essence. So whatever is happening with the other beings in this universe, in the solar system, the sun, the earth, is directly connected to your being too.
So you speak about the 12th dimension of consciousness. Which dimension are most of the humans stuck in?
At the moment,
Yeah.
well, it's difficult to say. I don't know if I would say stuck on, well, we've been stuck on the 3D, but it's not that the 3D is bad. The 3D from a higher dimensional perspective is just the 3D. It's a 3D. It's a third dimension. We say 3D matrix as if it's something negative, but
Yeah.
actually matrix comes from the Latin word mater, which means mother or womb. So it is this womb, right, that we're in. What we mean, the negative aspect of it that we might relate to is and there are different words for this. People use it differently, but you can say the 3D false matrix or the 3D old matrix, the 3D I don't know, manufactured matrix or inorganic matrix. There are different words. So this is the one that we have been stuck for many years, thousands of years. But right now, we're actually collectively awakening and breaking free from that 3D old false matrix. Yes, a lot of people are still in that, but collectively, this is like fresh channeled message. We are vibrating more at a 4D level of consciousness. So we are in the shift to the Mother Earth is, right? And so, like I said, the cells of this Mother Earth, they are being restructured as well. We are. Right. So there are those who are conscious and we are like, yes, I am aware. Mother Earth is ascending, we're awakening. I choose to be the cell that contributes to this, the cell that will ride along with Mother Earth's journey. And then a portion of the collective that are the cells that choose to be in divisiveness and separation, and they're not really contributing to the ascension of the Earth, but also they don't know that they have a choice. And that's the thing,
Yeah.
when you're in that 3D old false matrix, you think that this is all there is. Like you think that this womb is all there is. It's like when you're in your mother's womb and you think that this is life. Everything is fine. You're being fed. You got all you need, and then suddenly you're out of that, right? And then there's another matrix. But which is kind of, when you think of that analogy, is kind of true too, because in a way, the fourth dimension is also a matrix, but you can see beyond the veil. Like you can see it from a higher perspective. And if you just keep going and expanding and remembering, you will get to that 5D perspective and 5D awareness. So it doesn't mean that 4D and 3D are bad and you just get rid of it, but it means that you're able to see it for what it is from that neutral perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. So when I think until COVID or before COVID, I can clearly see a difference. I was in the 3D matrix where I believed that this is it. It's just work, and then you have a house, and then you build something, and, savings in your bank account, and then retire. So that was my perspective. Like I'm stuck in that thing. Then after COVID started, I got some time, and I also got into taking care of my health and some meditation. I didn't have to rush all the time, the traffic, none of that. So I had some time. Once I got into that, then I could see things from a little bit different perspective, where I started to come across channelers, and I didn't understand they were channeling first. I think the first one that I came across, I forgot her name. So it was them. They were speaking. It was not like they went into trance, so they would speak. So I didn't understand they were channeling. So once I got to hear them, then for the first time, I realized, oh, you didn't have to be stuck in this. You could actually just expect only good things, because until then I thought that suffering was part of it. Life means you have to suffer. But then they said that no, you can just have the best things in life. So then it slowly shifted. And I think that's when I probably got into the 4D part, where I realized that even the bad things that happen is also for your good. So the perspective changed. It's not like my relationship status or my job or my salary, nothing changed, but I changed in the way I perceived things. So that I see is 4D. What would 5D be? And then what would 6D be?
Yeah.
Can you probably go into those?
Yes. And that's a big shift that you went through. It's no small feature. It's a big
Yeah.
shift when you start perceiving reality differently. And it's exactly what you said. Like, we're still doing the things that we might have been doing for years, or we might change, but we're still having a human life. We're still having a 3D life. We're still abiding by the law of linear time and space. But there is more expansion in your view. It's not just limited, it becomes expanded and at times infinite. Like when you tap into moments of meditation where you feel so at peace and you feel the love of the universe, you feel one with the universe. These are the moments that you're like, well, I was worried about something that, doesn't really matter. So you put things into perspective. I also like to guide people into seeing things from different perspectives, and from a multidimensional perspective we can also pinpoint what matters or what's important, because from a 3D perspective it is important for you to do something, for you to have your house, for you to have a relationship, for you to have a job or money and these things. From a 4D perspective, it's important that you feel good, doing the things that you're doing, that your thoughts are in alignment with the feeling, that you feel coherent with how you
Mm.
feel, what you think, and what you do, and who you are. And then from a 5D perspective, it's important that you have all of these aligned, and that you're coming from a place of love, and that you're feeling
Mm.
as whole, that you're feeling the embodiment of love, the embodiment of Christ consciousness. And I'm very careful when I use Christ consciousness, because a lot of people tend to connect with Christianity or Jesus or Yeshua, but at its core, Christ consciousness is just love as a state of consciousness. You could even say love consciousness or unity consciousness or
Mm.
oneness. So this is what it is. 5D is when you're being led by the heart and you're becoming this human being with the awareness that you are a multidimensional being, and you're being the embodiment of love, which is what Yeshua, Jesus was, Buddha was, and so many other ascended masters. They came to earth to show us what it's like to be a human being that is tapped into their multidimensionality, and it is the embodiment of love. And their presence alone is anchoring so much light within the planet. So that's what 5D is. And so when you live your life from this from place of love and light, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything, that you're not going to be human anymore. It just means that your presence has a different frequency. Does that help?
When you said that, because I was in a state I was in a state where I started to get into this channel messages, etc. And then I decided that I'm only going to speak to channelers or people who understand the things that I'm talking about, because it felt so good to talk about these things with them, and they're always very loving. Now it got to a point where suddenly I feel like I have to integrate with the rest of the society. It's like, okay, now I know what it is like, the truth. I mean, I don't know, it's just the truth, because you say there are so many dimensions. So now I know that we are a fractal of God, and it's not like God is outside of us. With this new information that I have, now I want to integrate back into the society and deal with all of the other people. Like, I mean, I'm trying to get into that. So is this what it sounds like? This is 5D, where you suddenly realize that we are all back together. Because before I was trying to hide myself away from society, like the 3D, or I had this sort of judgment. Okay, they're not going to understand, and I'm just going to be with these kind of people.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because so I have this program. It's called the Multidimensional Self. We go through the 12 dimensions of consciousness every week. So I don't know when this is gonna come out, but this week we just finished the 4D. So we're going
Wow.
into 5D in the next module. And it's interesting because one of the members said, when I started this, I thought that we were just gonna go all the way galactic and connect with the Pleiadians and the Arcturus. Victorians, the Syrians, and we will soon. But the first dimension, the first, the second, the third, they're very much about being grounded, being embodied, being connected to nature, being connected to Mother Earth, because the more connected to your humanness that you are, the higher you can go, meaning the deeper you can go in your meditations, that you can have really deep altered states of consciousness when you are in your body, when you are grounded, and when you love your human life. But there is a period of integration for sure. There's always a period of integration, and I totally hear you. I've been there too. I might be there in the future where you just don't want to socialize and it's too much. And that's because your frequency is changing. So you're becoming more aware of frequencies. And that's something that the Pleiadians have recently said too, that we're all learning a new language, and that's the language of frequency that doesn't require words oftentimes, that doesn't require a verbal communication. It's just a feeling thing. And so, in the past, maybe you were fine going into a bar, for example. And now
Yeah.
you go and you're like, oh my God, get me out of here, because the frequencies are not a match to you anymore. And there's no judgment in that. It's just about connecting with the feeling and where you are. So yes, when you go through these shifts, because in a way we're also always oscillating mostly between 3D, 4D, 5D, right? And I always say, I give the example of, I don't know, getting your car and going into traffic. That's not a very 5D experience because, you might get triggered, you might get
Yeah.
angry or frustrated, and you can't really see others as an extension of yourself because you're just mad at the other person. But the main difference is that if your state of awareness in general is more of on that 5D level, you're able to observe it, you're able to see it and reflect after this. Well, that moment in traffic wasn't really the most loving practice. And maybe, you can set yourself a challenge, and next time you go into a traffic jam, you just tap into your heart and, force yourself to see all the cars as an extension of yourself, because it is possible. It is maybe harder to have a 5D experience in traffic jam, but it is possible. So I guess it's the period of integration is necessary, because we need to just make sense of what's happening, of the shifts that are happening, because the frequencies are changing. You're feeling more of these subtle energies, and it might get to a moment where you're like, I can't socialize, I can't leave my house. But it's not about that, because I say it's easy to be in 5D when you're in your home, in your bedroom, you're by yourself, you're meditating, you're doing the things that you love, having a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. These are moments that
Yeah.
are so joyful for you. The challenge lies in when you leave your house and you have to go to
Yeah.
work, or you have to do things and connect with people. And that's actually, it's a challenge, but it's a good thing, because we can't evolve without the reflection of others. So others are reflecting things back to us that we need to pay attention to, that we need to heal. That's why relationships in general, but especially romantic relationships, um, they can be amazing catalysts for growth and for healing, because you have a direct reflection, someone reflecting back to you all the things that you don't want to see oftentimes, and you're doing the same to the other.
Which dimension are you in now?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because it's a question that we get very often, because think of yourself as a multidimensional being, meaning
Right.
you're not just a human being. In the past, we all used to think that we're just humans and this is a finite life and this is all there is. This physical life is all there is. And then we awaken and we're like, no, I think we have a spirit. I think there's more. So that's you awakening into your multidimensionality. Because the way that we can see multidimensionality, and even though it's not as linear as what I'm going to share, is through layers, right? So even the physical has layers. I have my inner body, I have my blood, running through the veins. This is one layer of my multidimensionality, one layer of my physicality. Then we have this body. This is another layer, that's 3D. And then we have thoughts and feelings. And I always say you can't deny that you have thoughts and feelings, but you can't actually see. They're not physical. They sometimes manifest as an expression in the physical, but you can't see your thoughts. You can't, or you can't in your mind, but you know what I mean? Like it's not a tangible thing. So that's more in already in the 4D, your subtle bodies, because we all have emotional body, we have a mental body. So up until the point, I believe that we can all agree that we have these subtle bodies. When we get to 5D, the layer or the body that's connected to that is our causal body or spiritual body. And that's when maybe some people might not believe, but I know we do. So this is the way that we can understand multidimensionalities by just looking at the layers of ourselves. When we get to other dimensions, like for example, the which is the realm of sacred geometry, which exists out there in the macrocosm. I always one of my missions or the main purpose of my work is to also bring what's out there in here, because we are the universe manifested into this being. Everything that's happening in the cosmos, in the macrocosmos, is happening within us. And so I like to bring the macro into the micro. So you might think, okay, the sixth dimension is that realm of sacred geometry, light, but we are sacred geometry too. So we have those codes within our bodies, within our subtle bodies as well, and we can connect with that dimension. 7D is the realm of sound and frequency, and we are beings of sound. We are beings of frequency. We're always oscillating, vibrating, and we have an instrument. We can speak, and even if you can't speak, you yourself, you are an instrument of frequency. When you set an intention, what you're doing, you're sending out a signal out into the cosmos, and sorry, out into the cosmos, and that's gonna feed back to you. The eighth dimension is the realm of light that reminds us that we are beings of light. We are beings like the sun. That's why I was saying everything that's happening in the sun is happening within us. We feel that effect as well. So all of that to say that we are everything. We are all of it. So when you think of yourself as a multidimensional being, you have all these layers within you. It's just that you are awakening and activating these layers and remembering that you're not just a human having a human experience. You're not even just a human having or a spirit having a human experience, because that's something we say too, right? I'm a spirit having a human experience. Yes,
Yeah.
you are, and more, because when you think of multidimensionality, you are a multidimensional being with the biggest potential to have a multidimensional experience. And this is where, as humans, we're heading toward. It's not just the human, it's not just the spirit having a human experience, it's everything. We're everything. And in the future, we'll all have this awareness that there's so much more than this physical reality, that we're so much more than a physical body. We're so much more than just a mental and emotional body, and that we can have a multidimensional experience, meaning we can connect with each other telepathically through feeling. We can connect with other beings telepathically through feeling. In the future, we will have physical interactions as well with galactic being. We're getting prepared for this, but this can't happen until we have this awareness that we're multidimensional beings. So to your question, it's not whether I am in 5D or 6D or 7D, it's just how aware I am of my multidimensionality and how I am embodying that, because that's the other thing too. You know, we can learn, read the books, watch the podcasts, watch the videos, and I love that because information is light. And so receiving this information, something can get activated. You might remember things. And I hope that this could be happening to our viewers. But it is really about expanding your consciousness, right? The more that you continue to heal and expand your consciousness, expand your awareness, the more aware of your multidimensionality, and you're still going to have a human life, but you're going to honor your humanness, because you know that being a human is part of your multidimensionality. Your soul has chosen to be here, and you honor that and you enjoy that. And one thing that the Pleiadians say, too, is that we are more powerful because we're humans, because we're here. It's like we can do so much more for Earth and for the universe because we are here. We can do more than they can in a way, and they don't see us as inferior. They see us as equals.
Do you think we could bring the Pleiadians in and speak to them?
Yes, yes. I feel like they're already here.
So you don't have to go into a state of trance or anything. Like this is called blended consciousness. Is that what this is?
Yes, yes. A lot of the things that I'm sharing here with you is I feel like I'm in the flow. That's why sometimes I'm like, I forgot your question just because the information is coming through. And yes, you can call that. I like that concept. What I feel is more unity. So we're all heading towards this unity consciousness, right? And what does this mean in practical terms for us is we're just feeling more whole. We're feeling more united in terms of energies and in terms of our physicality and our spirituality, right? It's the feminine and the masculine energy within each and every one of us working together, becoming one, and even like our ego becoming one with the spirit. And for me now, more and more, I feel like when I'm channeling, it's just them speaking through me, but I'm still here. And I usually channel my higher self with a Pleiadian being, and sometimes it's a collective consciousness. They present themselves as the 9D collective Pleiadians. And oftentimes when I'm channeling, I don't feel out of myself. And I think in the past, and this is something I teach in my course too, is in the past there was this sort of ritual aspect of channeling, and it's like we needed to have a circle and the channeler would go into a very deep trance, almost as if they were being possessed. And
Yeah.
I feel like today this is a little bit obsolete. Not to say that it's right or wrong. I just feel like today we're more unified. So more and more I feel like as one with my higher self. And when I say, the Pleiadians, I'm also referring to me. And so it's like a we more than they and I and oftentimes too nowadays I in especially in one-on-one sessions I will say I as in me will and I say we as in the Pleiadians and I and
Yeah.
I would say them and I might go back and forth but it doesn't do justice the way I'm explaining it's just it feels more as one. That's kind of what I say. But
Okay.
yes, we can.
So you are already tapped in right now. It's not like you have to go into another state and we are already in the flow and they're already there. So I can ask questions about the Pleiadians. So my question is, why are they here at this moment in time? And what is the relationship of the Pleiadians to us? Do we have a relationship?
We are the 9D Collective Pleiadians. We're so very happy to be here, to be connecting with you and your audience and your beautiful self through our dearest will. And yes, 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 we care so much about Earth. We care so much about humans, and there's nothing in it for us. There's nothing in it in the sense that there's no agenda, there's no hidden agenda. This is we'll say, more of a dualistic, 3D way of perceiving things that we understand in your reality. It is very common to do things conditionally, we'll say, but that's not how we function. And that's not how the level of awareness which Will has been talking about, that's not how it works either. It's unconditional. It's all from love. And the main reason is love. The main reason is love because love is the highest frequency in the universe, and it is the frequency and the energy that connects all. It is all there is. It is what connects you and your parents and your friends and your pets, but also it's what connects Earth with the sun. It's what connects this galaxy with all the other galaxies. It's the glue that connects all. So love is the main reason, and we could just stop there and say that love is the main reason, but we will go a little bit further and say everything in the universe is in evolution. And evolution doesn't mean progress. It doesn't mean an upward line that you are climbing a ladder of any an evolutionary path, which means you are all having an experience and returning to, we will call it the one consciousness. And you can see the one consciousness as the source of it all, as the universe. Some people might see it as God. We will call it the one consciousness. The one consciousness is having an experience, actually various and infinite experiences. And evolution means that everything that's consciousness having an experience will return to consciousness, will return to that one consciousness. And we'll say that there are many sources out into the universe. Yes, the universe is vast and infinite, as you may know, and that can be a very difficult concept for humans to grasp because you understand things in a very linear way. But there are many sources out there, and you yourself, you have your source. And so you have what you would call a higher self, and you have souls that are living other parallel lives, including the one that you're living as this human avatar. But this is all a process of evolution. And so eventually you will go through all the cycles that you need to go through, and you will return to your own essence, and then you'll start all over again, maybe in a different galaxy, maybe in a different dimension with a different purpose. But why are we saying this? We're saying this because everything is connected, like we said, through the energy of love. And so when one race evolves, all the others evolve. The same way that when you individually, when you evolve, when you heal, you are healing not just yourself, you're healing your ancestors, you're healing past generations, you're healing future generations, and that has a ripple effect on the human collective. So see how powerful you are too. When Mother Earth heals and ascends, the whole galaxy heals and ascends and evolves. And so we are also evolving. We, the Pleiadians, are also evolving. When you look from perhaps a more linear perspective, and again, we want to say that that's how you understand things, and that's why we're putting it in a very linear way, we could say that we are your future. We are the versions of yourself in the future. We are the future versions of humanity because we've been through a process of ascension. We've been through a process of evolution. We are very similar to you in that sense. So we care a lot about you because as you evolve, we are also evolving, and everything else is also evolving. So we are closely assisting us, you humans, closely assisting the ascension of Earth because we've been through very similar processes and because we are close to you when it comes to this evolutionary path. We are the next version. So in the future, you will be more like us, and we will be more like the Arcturians, for example, who are in higher level of evolution, if you will. And higher doesn't mean better, it just means they are in a different point in their evolutionary path. And we are complete.
Thank you so much. Will channels Pleiadian from Taykata, what is their daily life like and how is their society different from ours?
We think this is a fun question, one that we often don't get asked, but we understand that it's rooted in curiosity. We love nature. We are very much connected to nature and to the element of the water, especially. We are very connected to sun, and we are very connected to each other as well. There is a lot of playful time, even though the sense of time is not as linear as it is for you. We do have nights and days because that's just how the planets and the system, the stars work, where the planets are rotating, the sun is moving. So we do have a sense of time, but we're not confined by the linearity of time. So it does involve a lot of playfulness, a lot of fun, a lot of time spent with loved ones, children, the elders. We learn a lot from them. There is a lot of art involved as well. We are very connected to creating things, creating beautiful things. And we do work, but not in the same way that most humans might think of work. It's not a 9 to 5. It's just a sense of mission, sense of purpose, and sense of being of service to others. So there is a huge sense of unity consciousness and being of service. And a lot of us, we are in service to each other, but some of us, we are in service to the universe because we have this awareness that we are multidimensional beings, which again is going to be your future. And so we also, quote unquote, make the time to help humans. And so some of us are helping humans, for instance, in this moment, connecting with will and connecting with other beings who are open to receiving our help and our assistance. So that is basically what we do. It's a lot of time in nature, a lot of time with family and friends and loved ones. There's a big sense of unity and harmony, and we are not doing nothing, even though doing nothing is part of it, because we understand the importance of rest and in the importance of integration. And we take our work as a purpose, as a mission, and it's always rooted in being in service of others. And we are complete.
Thank you. How, when you speak about relationships, how are the relationships in your planet different from that of what's happening on Earth?
The main difference is that on Earth, you are still, a lot of the times, even when you are quote unquote conscious and awakened, you are still being led by the ego. And the ego is rooted in identification and rooted in right and wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. This is good, this is bad. It's a very dualistic view of things. And yes, sometimes this gets in the way of your relationships. This is one of the reasons why communication doesn't work, because it's a communication between an ego and the other ego, and both of them want to be right. And so when you are aware that you're not your ego and you're not allowing your ego to be the leader, even though this might still happen, but it's about tuning into the observer self and knowing that you're not just your ego. And then maybe in a moment you were led by it, but you were more than that. And so you are able to tune in into your observer self and see things from a higher perspective and zoom out. So that is the main difference, is because we are not led by the ego. We are not identified with names or with the places that we've come from or with anything. We have this awareness that we are beings of light, beings of, and we have a very loving communication with each other, and we are not bound by the limitations by the ego anymore. And so again, in the future, this is what you can expect. The other thing too that you can expect, which is what happens to us, it's a big sense and connection with the heart. We speak from the heart, we connect from the heart, and we feel each other's from the heart. This is the main thing. We are always connecting with each other's heart, and we can feel things. We can feel when maybe someone needs a little bit of help because their heart is a little bit tender. We can feel when two people are in love with each other. We can feel when there's joy coming out from a younger child. We can feel that. And this is something that you're learning too, is what Will mentioned earlier, is the language of frequency. And that really comes from the heart. When you have your heart activated and open, you start feeling subtle frequencies and you start feeling energy in a very different way. You don't need the words. You go into a room, you see someone from the other side of the room or even the other side of your computer, and you can feel the energy. You can feel when it's on, you might also feel when it's off, and that is going to be a big shift for all of you moving forward. And so where we are is that oftentimes we are communicating all the time. We're communicating through the heart. And oftentimes there isn't anything necessarily off because, like we said earlier, there isn't any hidden agenda. We don't have anything to hide. So that's why we also can communicate telepathically with each other.
Is there an urgent message for humanity right now that we need to hear?
We don't say there is an urgent message, because anything that's urgent feels very fearful. We don't like to use these words or to send out messages of urgency because that has a vibration of fear. And fear is no longer the humans need to feel. A long time, you were vibrating in fear because you were fearful for your life, because you thought that you live a finite life. And also because you were programmed to fear. You were conditioned to fear. You were controlled by beings who, yes, had a hidden agenda, not very hidden anymore, but they had an agenda. They wanted to control humans and keep them inside what you may call the 3D old inorganic false matrix, like Will mentioned earlier. And so this is not happening anymore. And so there is no need for urgent news or shocking news, because this is vibrating in fear. So we'll also say for anyone who is open to spreading the message, who's working with communicating these beautiful spiritual messages, who has a purpose of spreading light, and we say light is information. Stay in a place of love, stay in a place of sacred neutrality. That means you're coming from the heart. That means there is no need to cause fear anymore. And this is a program that you are undoing. And yes, it will take time, because you've been inside this program and in this conditioning for thousands and thousands of years. So you are undoing this program. And what not most people, but what some people will do is they will quote unquote awaken and realize that they are more than the physical body, but then they will transfer their 3D way of seeing things into a more spiritual, enlightened topic. So you're basically transferring the newspaper and the tragic headlines into a more spiritual context. And again, this has a fear vibration encoded in it. So we will say that perhaps we're bringing this topic because the main message for humans right now is to know that there's no need to vibrate in fear. There's no need to fear for your life, because you are infinite beings, and evolution is just part of the universe and how the universe works, and you are all evolving both as humans and as souls. And so there is no need to fear. There's no need to fear for your life. There's no need to vibrate in fear, and there's no need to spread fear. There is indeed need to spread love. There is indeed need to vibrate in love, to choose love. And how does that look like? What does that look like? To choose love is to vibrate in love, to connect with your heart, to be kind, to do good, and to be frequency that you want to be like the ascended masters that have incarnated on your planet, to be the embodiment of love. This is what Earth needs. It needs more and more humans to anchor light and to be the embodiment of love. And this is the main message.
You know, I understand when you say that there's no need to instill fear. And it's something that I felt too when I see all of the titles that come up on social media. Anything that resonates fear, anything that speaks about fear doesn't resonate with me anymore either. So if that is the case, then how could this question have been rephrased from your perspective?
That would be rephrased in a more perhaps neutral way. What is the main focus? What is that humans need to focus more moving forward? And the focus, as we said, is love. And whatever it is that you do, however it is you express yourself, make sure it's coming from a place of love. Love as a state of awareness, not love as a feeling, because we understand too that maybe from a 3D perspective, people might think that love means I love you, I have feelings for you. It's beyond that. Again, love is the highest force in the universe, and 5D is love. 5D is harmony. 5D is unity consciousness. And so that is the main focus. What can I do on my day-to-day life that is coming from love and that is spreading love? How can I be the embodiment of love every day? How can I have that intention of love in everything that I do? That doesn't mean that you're going to accept everything, that you're going to sacrifice and be a martyr, because that is one of the messages that you're also unlearning from the age of Pisces, from the ascended masters and from the gurus. There's no need to be a martyr. There is no need to sacrifice yourself. And so this is another thing that it's another piece of the puzzle, we'll say, which is sovereignty, which is being so true to yourself, so connected to your heart center that nothing can shake you, that everything that you do is coming from that place. So the main focus is to stay in your heart, come from a place of love, vibrate in love. And yes, if there are moments where you feel fear, which will come up because again, you're undoing thousands and thousands of years of programming, just become aware. So that's the other layer of this answer is expanding your awareness, tuning in to your observer self and your higher self who has this neutral perspective. And by the way, the heart as well has this neutral perspective. We often say, we can feel Will wants to laugh because this is a message that always comes through. Your heart is your multidimensional tool. And so when you are connected to your heart, you are connected to your multidimensionality and you are tapped in that space of sacred neutrality, which holds space for everything that you are, everything that you've been, everything that you will be. It holds space for your thoughts. It holds space for your feelings. It holds space for everything that you're going through in your life right now, for the joyful moments, for the painful moments, for the fearful thoughts, for the joyful thoughts. Connecting with the heart. That is the main message too.
There are so many predictions about AI takeover, financial collapse, or even mass awakening. What is the next major global shift that is coming up in the next 5 years that we are not prepared for?
You are being prepared for. You are being prepared for whatever you can receive because, as Will said earlier, Earth is shifting, Earth is ascending, and this is a timeline that is inevitable in this point. That doesn't mean that there's no work to do. Because if you are, again, if you see yourselves as the cells of this being, are you choosing to be the cell that contributes to the ascension or the cell that vibrates in fear and divisiveness? And so when you are sure of that ascension, you feel ready because you feel supported. Connecting with the heart, connecting with Mother Earth, connecting with other beings, humans and non-humans that are together with the same intention of ascension and help and harmony and unity, then you are prepared. Now, when it comes to time, things get a little funny because even though we are saying that the timeline of ascension is a certainty, we will also say that timelines aren't fixed from a higher dimensional perspective, from a quantum perspective. It's just an infinite amount of probabilities that can happen. Some probabilities are very likely to happen. Some probabilities aren't very likely to happen. So we also feel that Will has this filter where he doesn't want to know the time. And so it's hard for us to talk about time and give any sense of time. Every now and then we're able to give him some numbers or some time. But what we will say when it comes to predictions is just that keep that in the back of your mind, that some predictions are very likely to happen, some aren't likely to happen because timelines aren't fixed and timelines shift. You can accelerate these timelines, you can anticipate them, or you can maybe these timelines will happen, but in a far future. And what will define this is your free will, is your choice, individually and collectively. So if collectively you are choosing to not vibrate in fear anymore and take things by the hand and understand that you have the power to choose and choose love, this will accelerate we'll say, the positive highest timeline. So that means in a near future, you might be able to see really, really big shifts that are for the ascension of the earth. So we will say that yes, there will be lots of systems that will collapse. Financial, educational, political, religious, and they are already collapsing. It's just that from a human perspective, you might expect this to be this big, drastic thing. But what we would like you to know is that it's a gradual thing. And we want to give you a very simple example that might not be so simple for some people, but when you think of the fall of Atlantis, for example, some people might have this idea that Atlantis, a big, huge continent that was very, very powerful, very important, in the history of Earth, you might think that it just collapsed in one day, but that's not what happened. It collapsed in years. It wasn't one day and then boom, Atlantis fell. So the same thing happens when you are ascending. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in one event, but there are several shifts and several events that happen that will collapse the things that need to collapse and will ascend with the things that need to be ascended. And so an example of that that's very recent for you is COVID, because the whole earth was affected by this. The whole earth had to be in lockdown. All the humans had time to reflect, and a lot of people actually started questioning a lot of things. And questioning is the beginning of awakening. And so it was one perhaps big event from your perspective that helped to awaken a lot of humans. And not only that, it helped Earth to integrate a lot of the things that she was going through. It helped Mother Nature to take a deeper breath. And so things like this, events like this might happen, but we again don't want to spread fear. It might happen for a reason. And the reason is things need to collapse, things need to go. And when it comes to AI, again, it's not about fearing it. It's about understanding that you can collaborate with this energy that has been on your planet before. And also, it is the beginning of the expansion of awareness around technology. Because some of you might think that your technology is very advanced, but from our perspective, it's not. And that's okay. That's just where you are. There is so much more that you can learn when it comes to technology. The only problem that we see is that too much technology in the hands of people who don't have the best intentions, it's not a good plan. That is why it is important for each and every one of you to be very conscious of how you collaborate with this energy. We are complete for now.
Why do so many awakened people struggle with money, relationships, and health? Is this a karmic trap in spirituality?
There is no trap per se, but there are, we'll say, limiting beliefs and traumas, because these are words that you can understand and you can make sense of. But this is coming up because you all need to heal certain things. And oftentimes you might think that it is a burden or it is karma or things like that. And we ask you to not see these things from a negative perspective, because we'll also say that there are past lifetimes that you are healing in this lifetime, and understand that you as a soul, your soul has chosen to incarnate on this time and space and has chosen the lessons and the challenges. And so you might see it as a challenge and you might feel uncomfortable and you might feel like things are falling apart, but we beg you to understand, to see things from that perspective of the soul. Understand that you are a soul that has chosen to go through these challenges, and you are a brave soul because you could have chosen to stay where you are. And that goes back to free will. You have the free will because this is the free will zone universe, but it's not just as a human, you have free will as a soul. So your soul had the free will to choose. And it might seem, this is from a very, let's say, a higher dimensional perspective, a 5D or 4D level of awareness perspective. But from a more human perspective, you might also feel a disconnection with other people because your frequency is different to many others, and you don't feel fulfilled because it is perhaps more difficult to find someone who's a match to your frequency. So that can be one reason. We're not saying that's the truth for everyone. There might also be a dissonance in how you feel about money. And again, that can stem from past lifetimes as well, to feel like you're not deserving, or to feel like you're not deserving of receiving money from spiritual services, possibly because of society's view on spirituality in a larger context. And also possibly because in many lifetimes before, you were not able to use your spiritual gift, or you were even sacrificed or killed because of them. So now you don't feel worthy of receiving money, which is just an energy, and it's just an energy currency that you need right now where you are. And you also need to see money as energy, and energy that will give you freedom, that will give you independence, that will give you the ability to be and do the things that your heart is calling you to do. And we are complete for this.
If you could give one final message, what would that be for us?
The final message is to have fun, to enjoy, and to bring more joy into your life, and to put things into perspective. Yes, we understand that there are challenges. Sometimes you struggle, that sometimes you worry, that sometimes you fear, but bring more joy into your life and bring more lightness into your life so that you can see things from a different perspective. When you look at the vastness of the universe and you see yourself as a particle, as a spark of the one consciousness that is experiencing everything in this universe, then you put things into perspective. And you know that what really matters is love and evolution, and that everything is happening in divine order. And yes, there will be moments of turbulence, there will be off moments, moments of unpleasant situations, you might say, but just keep it in the back of your mind that it is all happening for your evolution and the evolution of all. And not just keep it in the back of your mind, but connect with the heart. The heart, as we've said, is your multi-dimensional tool. It is the portal into love, the portal into 5D, the portal into the multidimensionality of yours. It's the portal into harmony and unity and the very essence. Every human is looking for that. Every human, even the ones that you perceive as non-awakened, even the ones that you perceive as service to other beings, they're looking for harmony, for love, and for light, and for unity within themselves. And the good news is that it is possible, and it is possible because you have each other, and we are complete. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
I feel good. Yeah, I'm just gonna drink some water. I feel thirsty when I channel, and I feel energized. I feel high in a good way. And I don't feel tired. Maybe it's the time of the days as well. Yeah.
Do you remember all that you said?
Yes, yes. Most of it I might not remember exactly the words, but the gist of it, yeah.
Okay. No, that was beautiful messages that came through. It was just beautiful, very uplifting. And just like so when you post on Instagram, right, these daily content, how is that done? You just sit and you ask them what is the message for today, and then they would, is that what it is?
Yes, yes, that's it. And there's short messages, and when I had the download to do that, that was the instruction, to just short messages, straightforward. And I think the main thing as well is they're very down to earth messages. Funnily enough, it's like for us, for human. Every now and then they
Yeah.
will share something that's more galactic or more, maybe something that feels a little bit more, yeah, out there, but it's usually for us and for our lives, for our day-to-day lives, and connected to the collective as well. So it's for the individual, but it's also for the collective, and yes, that's usually how I do it. I might do every now and then, I might do maybe for the week as well, because we're working in the quantum field, and so in the quantum, time is non-linear. So I'll ask for a message for tomorrow, or for, and that's just like a practical thing too, because it's more practical for me to batch the messages, and so every now and then I'll do that. Yeah.
It's so loving. I mean, it feels like they are your best friend, just sitting to you, talking to you very calmly, and just saying, calm down. It's very nice to listen to their messages. Will, can you tell us more about the work that you do?
Yes, thank you. So I have my Instagram, it's called the Pleiadian channel. I have my personal too. And the Pleiadian channel, as you said, daily messages are there available. And I'm so happy that it resonates with everyone that is in it's a beautiful community that we
Yeah.
I feel a lot of love as well. Every now and then there will be a troll. Most of the time I feel I feel a lot of love, and I don't even know how it affects people, but I feel like if the messages are resonating, are shifting something in people, even if it's just a little shift. But over time, it will be a big shift. So that's what I do on Instagram. I have videos on YouTube as well. You just find my name, and I do one-on-one channeling sessions as well. So it's similar to what we did here, but you can ask questions that are more personal to you. So I loved your questions because they're about the collective and questions about them. Like it's the type of
Yeah.
questions that I don't get in a one-on-one sessions, because usually it's related to the person and the individual. So it's more individual. And I have some courses as well. I have an introduction to channeling course that I run twice a year. This year, I'm also doing an extension version of that for people that also want to channel for others and maybe incorporate channeling in the work that they already do. And there's the multidimensional self too, which I run twice a year. It's 10 week. Every week we go through a dimension of consciousness. And a lot of the things that we talk about here, I draw from the experiences from the members and the journey, because I go through the journey as well. But I feel like it's very enlightening for everyone that takes the course, because they start to expand really their awareness of themselves, of these layers that I mentioned earlier. And that's
Yeah.
why it's called the multidimensional self, because it is about the self, and also understanding that the self is not separate to everything. So that's on my website, and it's just my name, willcaminada.com.
So when you do the one-on-one sessions, because I understand that in Akashic reading, they go through this entire past and future timelines, and then that's how they do the sessions for an Akashic reading. What is the session like when they do channeled reading with you? Do you go into the past, or what kind of questions can people ask in general?
Yes, it's not really an Akashic reading. People can ask any question and they will get the answer that they need. I tend to guide people into avoiding like yes or no questions, like will I
Mm.
get married this year? It's and then
Yeah.
there's like a timeline as well. So it's not so much that type of reading or an Akashic reader is, but it is an energy connection. So the way that it
Mm.
works is I open the field. So between me and you, we open the field. I will scan your energy field. I'll guide you into connecting with your heart. So you're in a very relaxed state. And then I might pick things up from your energy field. And yes, sometimes it will come through like I'm picking up the energy of the Pleiadians, or there is a lion near you. So sometimes I'll pick this different types of spirit guides that might be in your field, the elements as well, something that comes through: fire, water. I never know what comes through, and it's always what you need. And then from there, you might get questions already from that scanning. But if you don't, then I'll just call in the Pleiadians, and then you can ask questions. And oftentimes, they'll just give you a higher dimensional perspective on things. Sometimes they might send visions or body sensations. And so, like I said earlier, it's not like me being here statically just talking and connecting with them and speaking nonstop. It's more of a conversation. So, I might say, hey, Tanya, they're showing me a vision of yourself and in this white horse, whatever, so then together we can, figure things out of what's the message. So it is a collaboration. We open the energy field, and I always say that it's very unique because you're a unique person. And so every session is a co-creation, really.
And when we do the 12-dimensional course, what happens then? You're teaching them how to channel the Pleiadians?
There is one module on the eighth dimension that there is a practice of channeling, but that's not the
Okay.
main thing. If you're interested in just channeling, then the introduction to channeling course is just focused on channeling. We go through all the different aspects of the dimensions, and every week is something else. Like there's a lot of information, but also a lot of practice. So every week there are different things that come up for them. and at the end of it, you'll have a better understanding of what these dimensions are, and even about yourself and about the universe and how the universe is a manifestation of yourself. But it is, again, very unique because there might be people that really benefit from exploring the 3D and the 4D, and people that benefit from exploring the 9D and the higher dimensions. So it's very unique as well because you might have a different intention than somebody else too, or you might be in a different point in your evolution, in your journey, even though we're all really in the same spaceship, in the same boat.
Got it. Perfect, Will. I had an incredible time with you here today. To anyone watching, definitely go and follow Will's page on Instagram. When you speak about the community, every time a post comes up, it resonates so deeply with me that I can't help but not commenting on your post. And then when I put a comment on your post, you would have the people following the Instagram page responding to mine. So it's like we have this little community there that we talk to each other too. We have friends there. So thank you so much for doing that and for posting these messages. It really means a lot for us. Thank you so much for the work that you do, Will.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It makes me really happy to hear that. Thank you so much for giving the platform and the space. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Will.